Do you know the exact moment your soul began to dim? Not the loud heartbreak, not the screaming betrayal. Those are obvious. I'm talking about the subtle erosion, the thousand quiet ways you handed over your power, just to be understood, just to be safe, just to keep the peace. You've smiled through disrespect, nodded through dissonance, held your tongue so tightly it bled secrets into your own bloodstream. And now you wonder why you feel so hollow. But here's the truth no one dared to tell you. Being kind isn't the same as being good, and silence is not always peace. You have been trained to feel guilt for your strength, to apologize for your detachment, to explain your absence when your presence was never truly seen. What if emotional freedom isn't found in expression, but in mastery? What if becoming untouchable doesn't mean building walls, but burning illusions? Are you ready to remember who you were before the world told you how to feel? Say the word and we'll continue. To become who you truly are, you must let die who you pretended to be. Emotional untouchability isn't about becoming cold, it's about becoming clear. It is the clarity of someone who no longer allows their emotions to be a playground for other people's chaos. It is the stillness of someone who has stopped explaining their worth to the unworthy. This isn't a guide to apathy. This is not numbness. This is sovereignty. The Stoics understood this long before we gave pain a language. To them, peace wasn't a feeling, it was a discipline. Epictetus wrote, "We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them." This is where it begins, not with armor, not with retreat, but with the quiet revolution of perception. Imagine your emotions as waves. Most people build homes in the tide, but you are here to learn how to float above it, not untouched, but unmoved. Detachment is not the absence of emotion, it is the presence of power. To practice Stoicism is not to repress, but to refine. To see that no one can insult you unless you agree, that no one can disturb you unless you permit, that most of the noise in your mind is not yours, it's borrowed from those who benefit from your obedience. You were not born to be liked, you were born to be liberated. And this liberation begins not by changing the world, but by claiming your inner citadel, the fortress within that no storm can touch. Ready to feel what it means to not flinch, then keep going. The descent is sacred. You wake up tired, not because your body is weak, but because your soul has been holding a weight it was never meant to carry. You walk into rooms and scan for tension before you even breathe. You laugh at things that aren't funny. You say yes when every bone in you is screaming no. And when you finally get a moment alone, the silence doesn't comfort you, it accuses you. This is the war behind your eyes. You've trained yourself to absorb emotion like a sponge, taking on the wounds of others, softening your own sharp edges just to make others comfortable. You've turned yourself into a mirror, reflecting what others want to see until you can't remember what your own face looks like. That is not compassion. That is self-erasure. And you've felt it, haven't you? That ache at the center of your chest, the one that no amount of sleep, food, scrolling, or affirmation can fix. The emotional exhaustion of being too available, too open, too understood by everyone but yourself. You've built bridges where boundaries should have stood. You've loved people who only knew how to drink from you. And you've kept giving, not because they asked, but because a part of you believed your worth was measured in sacrifice. But how long can you keep burning just to keep others warm? There is a name for this quiet suffering: self-abandonment. The world doesn't reward authenticity, it rewards performance. And so, you perform. You play the peacemaker, the caretaker, the reliable one. But deep down, you wonder if anyone would still love you if you stopped bleeding for them. And that is the question, isn't it? Would they still love you if you were honest? If you stopped explaining your silence? If you stopped shrinking for their comfort? If you stopped rescuing those who never once reached back? What would be left? Who would remain? You are not weak for feeling deeply, but you become hollow when you betray yourself to protect others from your truth. This is not sustainable. This is not stoic. This is slow self-destruction dressed as loyalty. And it's time to return to the place within you untouched by obligation, to the part of you that remembers how it felt to belong to yourself. You've suffered enough. Let's go deeper. What if I told you that the people draining you are only feeding on the parts of you that you refuse to claim? What exhausts you isn't just the weight of others, it's the war between your persona and your shadow. Carl Jung described it this way: the persona is that which in reality one is not, but which oneself, as well as others, think one is. It's the mask, the role, the curated identity you project so the world doesn't see the mess beneath. But every time you tighten that mask, your shadow watches, and it waits. The shadow isn't evil, it's exiled. It holds your suppressed truths, your unacceptable emotions, your rage, your desires, your boundaries you never spoke aloud. Everything you deemed too much or wrong or unsafe. It lives there, and the more you deny it, the more power it has over you. So here's the dynamic most people never see. Your emotional chaos often begins not with others, but with your refusal to confront what you've disowned. You project your abandoned parts onto others. You label strength as arrogance, anger as danger, detachment as coldness. Why? Because these are the things you were never allowed to feel without consequence. But repressed energy doesn't disappear. It morphs, it leaks, it attracts. You draw in situations that mirror your fragmentation, people who poke at your wounds, energies that confirm your unconscious beliefs. I must earn love. I must prove worth. I must stay small to stay safe. And when you're tired, you think it's from life. But no, the drain is internal. It's the energy it takes to maintain a lie. You want to become emotionally untouchable? Then stop pretending. Stop performing as your persona. Stop fearing your shadow. The parts you've silenced are not your enemies. They are your guardians. They hold the blueprint to your power. Your boundaries, your voice, your discernment, all live there. Until you reclaim them, you will always feel fractured. Always give more than you mean to. Always react instead of choose. You are not broken. You are simply possessed by parts of yourself that are begging to be seen. To become whole is not to be perfect. It is to be honest. Can you feel the unraveling beginning? Then brace yourself. The archetypes are next, and they wear familiar faces. Let me show you the roles that dance in your psyche. These are not strangers. They are the silent actors in the theater of your emotional life. First, there is the persona bearer. They smile even when it hurts. They nod in agreement when their soul recoils. They say, "It's fine," because the truth feels too explosive to speak. They are masters of camouflage, loved by many, known by none. You might be them. You might have learned that approval buys safety, that silence buys belonging. But beneath their perfection is a scream, the scream of a self that has never been touched without performance. Then comes the psychic vampire. They are charming, they are wounded, they are always in need. They find the light in others and feed from it because they cannot remember their own. They don't steal with malice. They steal with absence. Absence of responsibility, absence of empathy. And you become their battery. You confuse compassion with rescue. You confuse obligation with love. But deep down, you feel it. The heaviness, the dull ache of having been siphoned without permission. And in the shadows waits the inner exile. This one is harder to see. They don't speak. They whisper. You locked them away the day you learned being real had consequences. They carry your grief, your defiance, your unmet needs, your ancient rage. They are the part of you that once said, "No more," and was punished for it. This exile watches every time you betray yourself. They ache when you say yes to what drains you. They cry when you let others define you. They are the part of you that remembers your wholeness and mourns its burial. These three archetypes, they move through you, often without your consent. They shape how you relate, how you respond, how you disappear. You are not weak for playing these roles. You learned them to survive. But you're not here to survive anymore. You're here to reclaim, to withdraw your energy from the stage. To name the characters and release the script. To choose presence over performance, power over pleasing, peace over participation in your own erasure. Now ask yourself, when was the last time you acted from truth instead of strategy? When did you last say what you meant, not what was expected? What part of you has been waiting years to be chosen by you? You are the only one who can end the performance. And now the mirror turns. Take a breath. Let it stretch into the hollow places. Let it echo, because what I'm about to ask you isn't casual. It's not designed for comfort. It's meant to unearth. Ask yourself, how much of your life is truly yours? Not the version curated for others, not the path chosen to make parents proud. Strip it down. What remains? What part of yourself have you sacrificed to be accepted? Your silence, your wildness, your rage, your joy. Where did you leave it behind? Whose voice still lives in your head, telling you how to feel? And why does it still feel louder than your own? What have you normalized that quietly kills you? A relationship, a routine, a way of seeing yourself? When you say, I'm fine, who are you trying to protect? Them or you? Breathe again. Not to soothe, but to summon. These aren't questions for your intellect. They are seeds for your becoming. They are the knock at the door your soul has been too exhausted to answer. But you're here now. The mask is slipping, the shadow is stirring, and something ancient inside you is ready to rise. Let's move. There is power waiting on the other side of this reckoning. You do not need to be fixed. You need to be returned to yourself. You've spent years outsourcing your peace, letting others dictate your worth, your emotions, your reactions, waiting for validation like a starving child begging crumbs from a table you built. But no more. The moment you stop explaining yourself is the moment you begin reclaiming yourself. This is where Stoicism meets soul, where philosophy stops being theory and becomes rebellion, a quiet, sovereign, sacred rebellion. Being emotionally untouchable isn't about being unaffected, it's about being unshaken, about seeing the storm and choosing not to drown in it, about watching the chaos come and realizing it has nothing to do with you. There is strength in detachment, not the cold kind, not the performative aloofness, but the kind that comes from knowing yourself so deeply that no one else's noise can rewrite your truth. Here's how it begins. You set boundaries not to push people away, but to protect the parts of you that are still healing. You let people misunderstand you because you finally understand yourself. You stop attending every emotional circus you're invited to. You speak less and observe more. You stop saving people who refuse to swim, and when guilt arises, because it will, you remember, peace is not something you owe, it is something you own. Feel that, the shift. You're not becoming a stone, you're becoming a mirror, reflecting back the truth, no longer absorbing distortion. Let others project, let them assume, let them twist your silence into weakness. You are not responsible for how others misinterpret your peace. You are only responsible for choosing it. Emotional mastery is not about never feeling. It's about feeling without collapsing, about grieving without losing yourself, about loving without needing to be consumed. You are allowed to disappoint people who expected you to betray yourself for their comfort. You are allowed to disappear from spaces that shrink you. You are allowed to be your own sanctuary. This isn't about control, it's about return. Return to the citadel within, the place where no opinion reaches, no chaos lingers, no guilt survives. Breathe into it. This is what it feels like to belong to yourself again, and you've only just begun. Carl Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. But you are no longer here to be ruled by ghosts. You've tasted the cost of abandoning yourself. You've felt the ache of living half alive, the haunting stillness after giving too much, the quiet grief that follows every unspoken truth. But that was survival. Now, this is resurrection. You are not here to explain your silence to those who benefit from your noise. You are not here to negotiate your sacredness just to avoid loneliness. You are not here to fold yourself into digestible pieces. You are here to choose. Choose presence. Choose sovereignty. Choose the kind of peace that makes noise irrelevant. Because emotional untouchability is not a mask, it is a mirror. It is the discipline of looking inward again and again until no projection survives your gaze, until all the parts of you, soft, fierce, shadowed, sovereign, stand in alignment. If you've felt something awaken in you, let it rise. Let this be the day you walk away from the emotional cages disguised as comfort. Let this be the night you stop flinching from your own power. If you're ready to stop apologizing for your clarity, write in the comments, "I choose my peace," and let those words be your vow to the next version of you, the one who remembers, the one who returns, the one who will never again be touched by anything that does not serve their becoming. Subscribe if this message resonates with your inner voice. Now, are you ready to face the silence that reconstructs you? There's a silence that heals, and there's a silence that haunts. In the next video, we'll step into the most dangerous kind of silence, the one that doesn't protect you, but rebuilds you. The silence that strips identity, the kind that presses you to the edge of nothing so you can become everything. If you thought peace was quiet, wait until you hear what your soul sounds like without noise. It's almost time.